Many thanks for staying with us right here on KBC Channel 1. You're watching Good Morning Kenya. My name is Mike Megwe. Now we get into a first conversation of the day, and that is about transition to an inclusive green energy and a climate financing. You know, you look at Kenya and its story, especially when it comes to energy, is changing fast. We have electricity access largely driven by renewable energy and even off-grid solar power expansions. But then again, you look at matters of inclusion when it comes to green energy. There's a major gap. When you look at gender inclusion, especially for women, there's still something that needs to be done, given that we have to get everyone on board to ensure that we achieve an inclusive green energy. And now for that conversation in studio, I'm joined by Peter Odhengo, who is the head of climate financing and green economy at the National Treasury of Kenya. Welcome to Good Morning Kenya.
Thank you very much.
How are you doing this morning?
Super.
Yes.
Yes.
Kumenyesha.
Because we worked for it.
Yes. Now, when we talk about an inclusive green energy transition, what defines that when you look at it from practical terms? Because as I have said, women, when it comes to gender inclusion, women hold less than a third of roles in renewable energy and climate financing. There are still struggles there. What defines an inclusive green energy in practical terms?
Thank you very much, Muge. When we talk about energy, energy is a very critical component for economic development. But at the same time, when you talk about green energy, it means that it is that energy that is being generated in an environmentally friendly manner, yes, that does not impact negatively the ecosystems, human being, and parts of the economy. When we talk of inclusivity, inclusivity is a term which also infringes on fairness, where no one is left behind, but no one is also pulling others behind. When you bring in the gender dimensions and the gender perspective in terms of the green energy transition, meaning that we are transiting from the fossil fuel, yes, to a new clean energy sources, which is supposed to empower and improve the health of both the women and our economy. Simply means that when we are transiting, we have to select the power sources, the energy sources, the energy types, which can reach all at the same time. That no one, no kitchen, no household, no field should be left behind. So in Kenya, for example, when you look the way we have been transiting slowly from the formal fossil fuel energy sources, yes, thermal power stations, our hydropower, etc. Solar has become one of the key elements where women, youth, and even old men, yeah, have got a share in it, because a solar panel can be connected, can be installed, and can also be provided anywhere in the county. Yeah. So this is where we mean that we are transiting together, where no part of the country, no person is left behind. And finally, when we talk about energy, it's not about gender. It is about input. It is about technology. We have very well-educated women. We have very well-educated youth. So in this transition, all of them are included, all of them are provided, and the central power systems is always over into this country. Yes. That is what we mean inclusivity. But we are not yet there. We have to continue making sure that everybody is included.
Indeed. When you look at the social economic potential of it, of this transition, why do you think an innovation aspect of it matter to drive this inclusion forward?
The key word you've just said, it is innovation. But innovation must be accompanied by what we call paradigm shifting, business unusual. When you look at the traditional power distribution system using the national grid. That one is not inclusive. When you look at decentralized systems, where we have solar, particularly both modules and also the solar thermals and the solar system, that one can reach anywhere, that one can reach any part of the country, because Kenya being in the tropics, we receive solar radiation for more than 8 hours. Even now we are receiving solar radiation, but for a layman, when you see clouds, you think that we are not receiving anything. So it is at that moment that we are really blessed with the location where we are, and within the decentralized and within the solar modules, which are, because the innovations has now been in solar, because when we started introducing solar here in the late 2010, in the 90s, the technology which was being used to develop the solar panel and the solar cells was still not one of the best at that time. But today, because of innovation, now with power decentral power system to do the solar, wind, it is including geothermal, is now at par with the normal traditional power system. So it means that innovation has reduced the cost of power, both distribution and also availability in real time, far faster than we developed fossil fuel in the 14th century during the civilization. Yes.
You know, we still on that innovation aspect, you know, we have technological advancements like the distributed renewable energy, that is DRE, battery energy storage systems, and even now we are living in the age of the AI. When you look at the financing models, how can they support the adoption of this so that solutions can be achieved, and, you know, especially when you look at underserved communities?
Great. When you look at the financing model, and when we come up, you earlier mentioned that I had climate finance and green economy. Climate finance can simply be defined as resources, money that is required over and above the traditional conventional money you have. What does that one mean? It means that if an innovative technology is available and it cannot be accessed by the poor people in far-flung areas where my grandmothers are, then definitely this climate finance comes in to de-risk that investment. This is because technologies are very expensive to acquire. The developers of technology has got patents, and they have very strict financial models and analysis, and they always want return in investment. Most of these technologies are developed in America and European whatever. So for us to access it, that is how the government comes up with alternative financing model. Which ones are these? One, they are what we call blended finance. A blended finance is a finance that is sourced from either public, private, and philanthropic, international and domestic. So in this case, for example, I hope you are a Kenyan of a Kenyan origin. You come from a ward. There is this program called Financing Locally Led Climate Action, FLOCA. FLOCA, yes. That kind of a program is the one which now mobilizing resources globally, brings it nationally, and decentralize it to the local level. And now it now gives the power for the local people now, both decision and money, to decide where do you want to put this. And then after that resources, which is grant in nature at the local level, physical transfer, then now they can say, well, it is very costly outside, but because of this blended finance and because of the government intervention and because of the de-risking of the expensive technology, now they can acquire clean technology at a lower cost. For example, you have been hearing about clean cook stoves. Yes. You have been hearing about Jikokoa, Jikopower, Jikomoto, all those. With those ones, without incentives to incentivize the investors within the clean energy space. My grandmother will not afford that. If you look at in the past 10 years, there was this technology called M-Copper. All those M-Coppers had been incentivized by other financial alternatives that, for example, carbon credits. You have been hearing about, people are talking about carbon credit. Those are the financial mechanisms that have been developed within the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change to provide alternative resources to enable the poor societies, to enable inclusivity so that you can access them. The question is about access, availability, and how to sustain it. Yes.
What would you say has been the impact of initiatives like FLOCA insofar as adopting green energy is concerned?
The FLOCA initiative, which is 4 years now,
yes.
If you look at, first of all, the developmental objective of FLOCA is to strengthen both the national and county institutional capacity to build their resilience.
Yes.
Resilience to respond to the impact of climate change. Now, what causes climate change? Climate change is caused by emission of excess greenhouse gases in the near atmosphere. Now, where does this one come from? Most of it comes from the energy sources, burning of fossil fuel, where you get carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. But with the FLOCA resources, which is being decentralized at the world level, where the local communities themselves are allocated an average of $1.25 million per year to enable them select what type of projects you want. And one of them, water, restoration of environment, climate smart agriculture, early warning systems, like what you hear KMC is warning you it will rain, and then also renewable energy, the one we are talking about now, including research and innovation, and also the emerging issues. So the money is there at that local level, and to enable them select. And when you see what their people, and particularly the women and my grandmother, is clean solar, clean cook stove, and that means that it has enabled the penetration, the adoption, and the expansion of clean energy to the household level. Without FLOCA, therefore, it would have not been possible for this decentralized clean power system to reach rural areas, for example, deep in Masongeleni, for example, in Abasweni in Wajir, in Garbatola, yes, in Marsabit, Uku Garbasel, next to the border. We are there, and it is covering all 1,450 wards. No one is left behind, no county is left out, no ward is left out, and now it is now decentralizing to 106,700 villages. So it means FLOCA now takes what the people want at the household. That is penetration. That is access. That is inclusion. And that is fairness.
Yeah, and that is how even communities get to be involved in matters that touch on the environment. Now, how can the private sector now investment coupled with innovative solutions be looped in to this transition that we are talking about to help even in mitigating financing gaps?
Critically, the role of government is to create an enabling environment to enable the private sector invest. Whatever we have been doing as the government is to follow that, create an enabling environment, because the government does not have enough resources to invest everywhere at any time. The government's responsibility is to provide services, but the role of the private sector is to provide products. Solar, clean technologies, is a product. So by having proactive, modern policies and legislative framework, which is conducive to the private sector to enable them invest in us and in the village, it's one way of bringing in the private sector to support the government. As we are talking here, Kenya, as a country within the climate change landscape, is the first ever country that had enacted the Climate Change Act in 2016.
Yeah.
Climate change, the National Climate Finance Policy, and just recently, in 2024, the National Treasury, through the Cabinet, approved the Green Physical Incentive Policy. The basis of this Green Physical Incentive Policy is to provide incentives to the private sector to come and invest in areas such as clean energy. This is now to support the government, because the government has already availed mega little resources to show the private sector, yes, investing in green energy or transiting to green energy makes business sense. Now come and invest, and we will protect your investment. We will give you an enabling environment for a long time to invest in that. And we are doing it. If you look at the statistics today, Kenya is leading in the investment through geothermal. In fact, we are in top 10 of the investors on geothermal. Geothermal is a clean energy. Kenya is the leader in the continent on solar penetration we are discussing today. Kenya is leading on establishment and installation of our wind power, the Lake Turkana wind power. All these have been embedded with the proactive, modern, private sector friendly policies. But all and above, we have a very good working relationship. We have Interministerial Technical Committee, which is overseeing the transition of climate finance, including the private sector, sitting with us on the same table. That is where the support for CAM, the support for KEPSA has been part of that. But when we move towards how do we support the private sector to access climate finance, I'm extremely happy that Kenya Commercial Bank, our green bank here, has been accredited by the Green Climate Fund. And next month, they are going to access over $50 million to provide to the medium and small enterprises to invest in green investment. That is part of the inclusivity. That is, it will be supporting women, youth, and myself, and my grandmother. And that money, I wish you people can join us to sign it. So these are showing that the government is working with the private sector hand in hand. Over and again, you know, our president is always having roundtable discussions, either quarterly with the KEPSA, Association of the Private Sector. They're doing well, they are supporting the country, but we have to do more.
Do you think the access to what you've said, the 50 million, will accelerate the transition that we are talking about to green energy and the inclusion that we are looking for?
Correct. You know, if you add a milliliter or a liter of water in a bottle or in a draft, definitely the level have to rise. It means that any additionality in climate finance, we talk of additionality over and above. Yes, it will accelerate the transition to green energy and green economy. How? $50 million with another $500 million guarantee to the private sector will definitely provide a conducive atmosphere to enable the private sector in this emerging market to come and tap that money. It means that more youth projects, more women projects, more villages, more counties, more wards will be able to access this. It is almost a 15-year program. So yes, it will accelerate. And at the same time, it now provides de-risking facility to enable the private sector to go as far as Mandera, Marsabit, Turkana, to build on what projects that FLOCA has already invested. Because the FLOCA investments is to demonstrate to the private sector of the world that investing in adaptation to climate change means business. There is a bottom line in investing in water, clean energy, climate smart agriculture, climate information systems which we provide. Today, we have local level information systems where the farmers are informed of the weather conditions, at the same time. These are what is now required to enable the private sector to come with us. And secondly, I think you've known that there is a lot of stability within the public-private partnership.
Yes.
We have a law. We have a whole directorate where the public-private partnerships always come and discuss on how they can invest. But of course, we still need to do more.
When you look at this transition and the pace at which we are taking it, what do you say would be the biggest barriers to achieving a smooth transition or full realization of this green energy inclusion?
Well, when you look at the pace and the scope, the technology advancements is going on globally, and when you look back at the continent, and then when you now zero in Kenya as a country, you find that there are several barriers. There are policy barriers. There is access to cheap and affordable finance to enable the transition take place faster. There are also barriers in skills. When you now see the AI coming in, AI is a big data, artificial big data system. But in countries like Kenya, we do not have statistics of big verifiable data. It means that the AI which we will always use to design or to get things done is based on data which has been acquired from other sources. Data which is acquired from other countries, for example, in the north, may not be conducive for our design. And of course, you know, with the challenges of disparities and a moving target, where we have educational system which may not be able to equip the younger engineers, technologies with relevant skill, they may rush to AI to write for them algorithms within the computer using wrong data. And if that is the case, then what will we lose? Our investment will not be resilient. The designs will be poor and the transition may stall. So what we need to do, we need to be having what the global horoscope. We need to be having a very strong institutional framework, monitoring on real time, the advancements on the other side, just like what China and Korea did in the 60s after the Second World War. They invested heavily on how to learn on what is going on globally, on how to acquire those technologies from the West, but spend more on how they domesticate those technologies. That is why Japan is where it is after the destruction. That is where South Korea is seriously where they are after all the war of the Korean Peninsula. That is where the Singaporeans are, where they were, and they could be doing their own. That is where the thieves that were removed from the UK to be taken to Australia. Australia now have overtaken UK in terms of technology. We need to copy those ones. But Kenya, we are in a better state because we have a very young population. We have a very good political, strong, robust political system. We have policies, we have strategies, we have the sources of critical minerals, because renewable energy requires raw material. If we can use our critical mineral effectively and faster and not be manipulated by the global system, then our transition will be fast, better, because we have already have a conducive atmosphere to invest. The risk which the investors keep on saying, oh, there is all this risk, we are de-risking them, and the resources can be attracted the way we have attracted in climate change. Yes.
Indeed. Gender inclusion is very important in all this. And when you look at, I was looking at something that is the Global Energy Alliance, representation of women in the renewable energy sector falls or stands at 32%. Coming back to Kenya, that representation falls now under 30%. And when you look at even in leadership positions, they are fewer, and even at the expertise level, expertise position, meaning there is a lot of potential in that, especially when it comes to gender inclusion. How can we tap on this potential? And number two, how do we bridge the gap between that gender divide?
Great. You know, what happens, number one, the notion that gender, that women are gender, is not the right notion. Gender in its meaning, in its true meaning, according to Oxford Dictionary, is you and the women. So when we are together in gender, M and F, M and F, it is only, there is a very slight difference within the DNA system, the X and Y. Now, Kenya has done a lot to bring this one into ensuring that the divide between X and Y is minimum. We have a gender commission, effective gender commission that is established under the Constitution to ensure that there is no gap or there is no disparity between women and men. We have our educational system, which is universal in its systems, which does not discriminate about women and men. But the challenges that follows those systems is the way, the cultural aspect, where our girls can be engaged in other activities which deny them a chance to pursue some kind of topical or studies which will make them with that. But all in all, we need to bring gender at the par. Women are more careful, they are more resourceful, they are more sustainable than me and you. And that is why, for me, my grandmother is the greatest person, because she oversees us. If we take the clean energy system and give our grandmother, the oldest in your village, skills, not technical skills, just to show her how the clean energy transition will reduce her indoor air pollution, improve her health, because air pollution reduces the longevity of old people and children, that the renewing, she has the power, she has more skills to do it because they have been doing it. We will be able to get this. And of course, we have women-based now funds. We have established women-only funds. In our FLOCA program, for you to access our program, number one, Ward Planning Committee, at least 30% of the members of the Ward Planning Committee must be women.
30%.
30%. So now we are meeting 1/3. 30% of the same Ward Planning Committee must be youth or young people. So now we have 60%. Now we have left you and I and others 40%. Now in those committees, it is skills, understanding, and when there is stalemate, they vote. Now if 60%, if women are 30%, they influence youth, another 30%, they are 6. See, they have won. Because there is democratic process. The money is already there. It is earmarked. And then it is them to plan. Where do you want to take it? And within having at least, you mean they can even be 100%. So if we encourage them, if we create an awareness through the system, then definitely money and decision by the women, definitely we will narrow the gap. And it is there because trust, believe that women have taken the front line and have delivered significant resources within families. That is the point where we need. But it has to be from the decision, not just sitting on the table, not just shouting on the streets. They have to come to the table, contribute, influence policies, undertake the action themselves, because resources are available. If we follow that path, definitely the gap and the gender divide will not be there.
Yeah, actually, I was coming to ask you about how women leadership, especially when it comes to energy planning, policy formulation and implementation, would transform outcomes and help in achieving this transition.
That is why under FLOCA framework, the landscape, that is why generally women have to be at least 30%. And there are silent features that require them to be handling the money resources. The treasurer must be a woman.
Must be. Like, it's
dedicated.
It's a rule.
It's a rule. It's a policy. If not women, it is suspended until they get somebody. Because they are very meticulous. They are very careful. Women look for the future, current and future. They take care of our children. They take care of our youth. They also take care of us. They also maintain the houses. That is where the resources should be. And that is why whenever you look at the policy, even the green fiscal incentive policy, there are 23 key elements of the incentives. One of the elements is giving women leadership, whether they know it or not. Because the idea of thinking that, oh, an engineer must be a man, yet at the same time there is no man who, there are very many men engineers, but they have never even designed a needle. Why can't we try women? We may have our own needle. That is the theory and the theory of change that we are bringing here, that these people, the silent warriors, have a point, and let's try them.
Yes.
Let's try them. And now, we don't just try them. We want to get them out of women groups.
When you look at even at FLOCA and,
Yes.
and the accessibility of climate financing for groups, are there ways that this money is followed up to ascertain that the purpose that the money was given is the only thing that the money was used for?
We have a comprehensive framework, monitoring and evaluation, 5 levels, where we start with our well-educated team of scientists, with what we call, first of all, FLOCA is a program for results. FLOCA is not walk in, write a proposal for a women group and get 20. No, no, it is P for R.
Yes.
Project for result. You deliver the result, then we give you water. First of all, when we were designing FLOCA, we visited the entire 47 counties. We ascertained baseline, the weaknesses. Capacity was a weakness. So we had to design the program with the 2 grants. The first grant is the grant which we call County Climate Institutional Support Grant. That is for investing in institutions. What is the paradigm shift here and the theory of change here? Generally, conventionally, people come with a TA, technical assistant. Technical assistant is one person like you and me, sitting in an office or with a briefcase, purporting to be providing technical assistance in this studio. That one, wrong. So we said we don't need TA, we need institutional support. So each country was allocated 11 million per year for 3 years to build county institutions up to the world level, county climate change units. Then that one was now to build the institution capacity of these guys. Then there is now the second investment grant, not projects. Now, county climate resilient investment grant. Resilient means that institutions will be invest in infrastructure that are resilient, which will withstand economic stability, climate change variabilities, the impact of that. Now that grant, after you establish all those systems, then now you are assessed that have you achieved what we gave you. Then now you come in. We have what we call access conditions. The access conditions are very simple. You have to have laws. You have to have the Climate Change Act. A county has to have Climate Change Fund, which is called Special Purpose Account, where the money which you dedicated to move has to be moved to that account. Then you have to dedicate an officer, CEC in charge of climate change, to be superseding, to be responsible for that. They have to sign an agreement with us, which is, so based on those elements, then we will, a second party from the Office of the Auditor General will come to assess, how have you achieved this? Take the box. A, there is no A and B.
Yes.
It is A, you take the box. Then you move to performance conditions. Have you performed? Have you allocated 1.5% of your development budget to this account? Yes or no? If you have not, you fail. If you have, then we take you to the next one. By the way, it is so innovative that up to now we are sitting, the counties have contributed 8 billion, equivalent of Kenya shilling, over the last 3 years to contribute to climate change and investment. Their own contribution, very significant. From that, the first year alone, last year but one, we gave them 12.68 from World Bank, IDA, KFW, and the 12.68 billion, significant amount of money. This year, last week, they have almost accessed almost 7.2 billion. Now, this money is going directly into the local projects.
Yes.
And the local projects are selected by the local people. 2,450. The M&E are following those delivery-linked indicators. Today, as I'm talking here, my teams are all over this county. Follow the money. Get the thieves. Yes.
All right. Now, how do we transition from traditional financing models to ensure that we remove the barriers, we increase the absorption capacity, and also create predictable and policy-driven investment frameworks so that we can achieve a 100% transition into inclusive energy?
One, there are significant innovations and also policy directives that are already existing. Absorption has been addressed or being addressed under the Public Finance Management Act. You are supposed to absorb up to 80% for you to, if you are a government institution, to enable you to access the other one. But for you to absorb, it means that it's not just about spending. It has to be, the resources have to be spent prudently. You have to follow the procedure. It has to be efficient. It has to be effective. It has to be spent on what was planned for, not spending free. So that has increased over the last 5 years or so. But for us to ensure that there is a faster transition to a green energy, those policies and those access to financial resources is very critical. Today, for example, you know, we have a policy on e-mobility transition.
Yes.
Done and moving. Today, you know, we have electric buses roaming into into the roads now. They are very good guys. Buses go with softwares. Now you can select. Today, we have electric motorcycles, something which you could not even hear 10, 15 years ago. So today, as I said, solar, we are the largest. Kenya is one of the countries with the highest solar penetration in the town. All our roofs, most of the roofs are always equipped with the solar. But the problem which used to be there earlier, there was a mismatch between solar and the battery. You know, energy can be generated, but you cannot destroy energy. But because in the past, you could not store energy.
Yes.
But now the battery storage has come in. And now the technology is very advanced. So it means now anybody can now generate energy from solar and sell to their neighbors. Policy has been changed. Very good. But anybody now needs to pick up and invest on that. We now have green hydrogen. Green hydrogen is a fantastic technology which is required to replace these fossil fuels where you have to go and drill oil or to enable to power your economic development. But when we are in climate change, the key thing here is emission of greenhouse gases, both from energy and from agricultural and landscape and lands. Now, fossil fuel can be used for others. You know, fossil fuel, this oil is the one being used for manufacturing of fertilizer.
Yeah.
The bad thing for it is to burn it, to emit it. So we have all means and goodwill to ensure the transition is fast and moving to the target where we need 90% by 2032.
Indeed.
Our NDC is very clear about that, National Determined Contribution, Our climate change action plan is well defined. Our green physical incentive policy. And finally, we are in the process of organizing the first ever Africa Green Investment Forum here in Nairobi.
Yes.
The first one.
The first one.
And we are intending to mobilize 50 billion. So that 50 billion will be to fast track this transition.
When is it projected to happen?
It was projected to happen in April, but it could move. There are a lot of a lot of preparations going on.
Yes.
It will happen here. We will mobilize that money from our development partners, and we will now fast track this transition by 2032.
Finally,
Country
this is your closing remark. If we are to sit here five years from now, what measurable shifts or outcomes should we look for and say confidently that Kenya has moved or has moved 100% beyond ambition? And if not, who should we hold accountable for that?
The person to be held accountable is you and me, because the transition is good for us. So if we don't deliver, it is you and me. And will you accept? I will accept. Two, in order to measure that by 2032, all the vehicles that are moving on our roads should be electrical, no emission. Good technology is there. All our energy powers, all the thermal power generation should be shut. All our forest cover should be more than 30%, because they are also contributing. All our energy consumption, both in-house and also industry, should be from clean sources.
Yes.
Yes. And all our thinking and green consumptions must be only, if you don't consume a green product, then we need to take you responsible.
Indeed.
In 2032.
Thank you so much.
Merci beaucoup. Obrigado.
Arigato gozaimasu.
Iyi desu ne, arigato gozaimasu. Sumimasen. Arigato gozaimasu. Doso.
Yes, indeed, that is Peter Odhengo, who is the head of climate finance, financing and green economy at the National Treasury. This is where this conversation ends. My name is Mike Migu. Thank you for tuning in. Don't go too far. Up next is Vivian Degwa with Women at the Forefront. Stay with us.